Before we even get into the nitty-gritty of building better searches as you're searching online or in the library catalog or database, need to talk about some sort of pre-research ways of thinking. So the first thing that's really important to realize is that searching, looking for sources, does not equal research. Researching means finding, and yes, it's really important that we find credible information to help us with our writing, but researching is discovering. Okay, research means searching again and again and again until there's enough information for you to analyze to meet your purpose and to explore your topic and thesis. That's why it's researching and not searching. So it doesn't mean finding 4 articles on your first half hour at your computer because you need 4 articles total to meet the basic requirements of your assignment. The reality is that in order to find 4 really good articles that help you explore your topic, you need to read double, triple, or more than that. Research is a recursive process, as that circle in the background reminds us. So it's search, read, write, think, narrow, go search some more, think some more, write some more, go search some more. Research happens all throughout your writing process. Research is an attitude. It's exploration, it's about discovery, it's about learning that extends beyond the assignment, it's about finding the best answers, the best sources, the best issues within your broader subject area. That type of attitude leads to new ideas. It leads to you discovering complexities and new ways to look at a topic that help you really come to the best conclusion. If you don't go into research with that type of attitude, that it's exciting, that it's about exploring, that it's about discovery, you're not only cheating your reader, but you're cheating yourself. Before you search, you need to really think about your research question or focus, and we've talked quite a bit about that. Then you need to break your research question down into smaller pieces. For example, when Anjum researched pomegranates, she didn't just go plug pomegranates in the database and see what she'd get. She drew, I'm sure, on her own experience, but she broke that research question down into smaller pieces. So pomegranates and history, pomegranates and farming, pomegranates and mythology. Those are smaller research questions that she can find through database searches. You want to brainstorm those smaller research questions, but also search terms and synonyms. The library databases are not smart, and by that I mean they're not trying to figure out what you're saying to them the way that Google does. They are just matching up characters in most databases. So if you misspell a word, if you don't initially speak the database's language, you won't get any hits on your search. So before you go into a database, come up with a lot of different ways to ask your questions, a lot of different words that you can use, and then let the database kind of help you figure out what words work best in it. You also want to think about the related fields, concepts, conversations that are relevant to your research. So that if I'm doing research on how students learn, I know that I'm not just going to look at education journals. I'm also going to look at cognitive psychology journals and neurology journals. And so I'm going to think about some of those related fields and the different concepts within them that will help me explore my topic. As you search, you want to make sure that you use the right databases. So here I'm at the library's website, library.gmu.edu, which I hope you're very familiar with by now. And I'm going to go into the databases. There are a couple of different ways to do that. If I know the database that I want to initially use, I can just pull it up alphabetically. Okay? So there are some good generalist databases. A generalist database is a database that has a little bit of everything. It's good for general or beginning research. One of my favorites for that is ProQuest. Okay, some good generalist databases are ProQuest, JSTOR, Expanded Academic. So if I just want to go into ProQuest Research Library, I'm going to click on the P. Then I'm going to type it right up here. Okay, ProQuest Research Library. And then I'm going to click on that link to take me directly into the database. However, if I know, again, that I need to research within a particular subject area, so to go back to my earlier example of student learning, I want some psychology databases. I'm not sure what those are, but I can go to databases, by subject. Okay? And I can pull up my subject. So I'm going to go, okay, I need to see what some of the good psychology databases are. And I can read these abstracts that tell me a little bit about what's inside this database. So then I can pick a psychology database and get a little bit more focused research from the very beginning. In addition to using the right databases, you also want to make sure that you build advanced searches, and I'll demo that and talk more about that. And that you use the drop-down options. And then as you're researching, you want to map your research and take notes. Keep notes of which searches work for you, what the results are, what other sources they might lead you to, what other searches you might decide that you need to do based on your results from that search. You need to keep those types of notes. And in fact, your annotated bibliography requires that you map your research in that way. So here we are in ProQuest, my favorite general database, and I'm going to demo a little bit of what I was talking about with building advanced searches and using drop-down menus. So the first thing that you always want to do is use the advanced search. Don't just go into here and throw a bunch of information in and hit search. That sort of says, hey, I'm feeling lucky, let me see what I get, and that's a waste of your time. So always start with an advanced search. And in this case, we're going to do some searching as if we were Anjum, writing that pomegranate essay. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put pomegranate. And then I'm going to use the drop-down menu. Often I start with a subject heading. A subject heading is a broad categorization, but you can see that you have a lot of choices in these drop-down menus. You can search within the abstract, by author, by the document's title, within a specific publication. And while I often start with subject, I think that's a little too broad for pomegranate. Okay, so fruit is likely to be a subject heading. Pomegranate might be a little bit too specific. So I'm going to say I want pomegranate to come up in the abstract, in that summary of the source. And then I'm going to, sort of wearing Anjum's hat again, say, well, I know I want to put some of that mythology information in here. So I'm going to use the AND operator, and I'm going to tell the database, okay, I'd like some things about mythology and pomegranates. And then I'm going to give the database a synonym, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. So we have that OR operator happening here. So I'm going to say mythology or folklore, knowing folklore can be another phrase that means the same thing as mythology. I'm not going to stay with this default of anywhere, because that's going to give me a bunch of irrelevant information. These are good terms to use a subject heading for. Okay, folklore, mythology, history, those are all likely to be broad subject headings. Then I'm going to hit search. Okay, I got 8 results. And a quick skim of them tells me that some of these are likely to have good information. So I have some things here about the pomegranate representing life, regeneration. That's the kind of information that I'm looking for. So I built a good search. I don't have to look through too many sources, and most or all of these look right on track for me. So now that we've looked inside the database, let's talk a little bit more about how you build those complex searches. Okay, so the first thing is using those operators that I was using. Okay, so one of them is and. And narrows your search by separating concepts. It searches for multiple concepts. So we're going to run through this pretending that we have a research question of does working have an effect on college students' grades? So again, if you're getting too many results, You plug in a search and you get 100 things. You're asking too much of the database. You want to find a smaller piece of that puzzle to explore. And helps you do that because it links concepts together. So if you put college students and working and grades, you're telling the database, I need just this middle area where all three of those come together. I want them linked. It's as if you're telling the database, hey, I want all of these ideas. You can use or if your results are too small, if you need to broaden your search, if you suspect that you're not speaking the right language of the database or having the right terminology. So or helps you find synonyms. So in this case, I might put in working or jobs or employment, and that tells the database any of these concepts will be just fine. It's as if you told the database, hey, I'll take any of these ideas. Not reduces irrelevant hits. So if you're finding a lot of information on internships and it's not helping your research, you're really looking for paid employment and students who have to work. You're going to tell the database, okay, I am looking for working or jobs or employment, any of those concepts, but not internships. Okay, it's as if you told the database, no, not that. That being whatever that irrelevant term was, in this case, internships. You can then use those parentheses to group words to build increasingly complex searches. It's the equivalent of running many searches at one time, which saves you time and gets you better search results. So in this case, I'm going to tell the database college students or undergraduates, I'll take either of those concepts, but I need them linked with working or employment or jobs, again, any one of those concepts, and I need it linked with grades, but I don't want anything on internships. Okay, I'm running many searches there all at once. You can also use wildcards and truncation. So again, the databases don't look for variations of words. So you can put in symbols to truncate a word. In this case, if I put in educat, the database is going to search for education, educating, and educators without me having to put all of those in as synonyms. Okay. I can replace a letter in the middle of a word to search for variations of that word. In this case, woman and women, if the database won't pull up both of those concepts together. Most often, the wildcard symbol is an asterisk or a question mark. So honestly, I usually just try that if I'm in a new database, and if it doesn't work, then I check the database's help menu.